Yauts, Ab Kilasunugwa. Hello, I'm called Ab, and in this video I wanted to talk about lateral symbols. So we've gone through some of these over the past few videos, and the first one here is the tilted L, which sounds like we have the Lambda, which sounds like a D, the letter D and the letter L together, gla. We have the barred Lambda, which sounds like a T and an L together, and sounds like tla. And the last symbol that we have here is the barred Lambda, but it has an apostrophe on top of it. And this is what we call an ejective barred Lambda, and it sounds like. So I've made videos about these first three symbols, and just a little bit of background. These symbols come from the Lincoln and Rath dictionary that was published in 1986. The linguist that worked with our language before Lincoln and Rath was Hein Vink, and he used consonant combinations to represent these sounds, which turned out to be kind of problematic. And also the next linguist after Lincoln and Rath was Bach, who also used consonant combinations, which caused problems in terms of comprehension and being able to read the sounds. So I like these symbols that were used by Lincoln and Rath because it's one symbol representing one sound. So when you understand what sounds these symbols make, then it's not possible to make a mistake. There's no way for you to mispronounce it or misinterpret it. This symbol is always going to sound like, and these other symbols are always going to have that one sound associated with it. And it's really helpful to have one symbol representing that one sound. So this is what I use in what I call the hybrid orthography, which is the current standard writing system that is used to represent the Haisla language. So that's a little bit of background. And I mentioned in a previous video, this is the font. This is how it's rendered in the font. This Lambda is rendered like this in Times New Roman. That's the font that I'm using. It's not necessary for these lines to be curved like that. When I'm handwriting, I don't make a curvy line coming down like this. I just use a straight line. So a straight line coming down like this, and a straight line going up. The same with the barred Lambda, just a straight line coming down, straight line coming up, straight line going through. And the same with this ejective barred Lambda, straight line coming down, straight line going up, straight line across, and then an apostrophe on top. So I just wanted to mention that. This is just the way the symbols are rendered in Times New Roman, and there's not really anything that can be done about that. That's just the way the symbols show up in that font. But I use Times New Roman because for a lot of symbols, this font works really well. It renders the symbols very well. If you look here, this apostrophe looks like an apostrophe. It doesn't look like an acute accent mark. You can see this is clearly a lowercase l with kind of a curvy line going through it. And this differentiates this from a lowercase t. So there's not going to be any mistake between this symbol and a t, a lowercase t. So that's a little bit of background on the symbols. I'm going to go into some examples here. I've switched over to my Word document. So I usually start by trying to find some equivalents in English, but the problem with this sound, it's so complex that there is no English equivalent for it at all. And the closest I can come is these words which I used previously with these barred Lambda words. So I've reused these ones and I've changed them a little bit. So the words here are Maitland, pit lamp, and boat launch. So those are English pronunciations, and if we want to say them in the Heisler way, then we would change this TL to this symbol here. We have the barred lambda with an apostrophe on top of it. So I'll say each word. And the first one is Maitland. Maitland. This is pit lamp. Pit lamp. And this is boat launch. Boat launch. So pay attention to the fact that it's a T and an L. Some people confuse this with like a CL sound, like in the English word clam. They might say Maitland, but it's actually not pronounced like that. It's Maitland. So it's a T, a really sharp T followed by an L. They combine into one sound, and it makes kind of a clicking sound. So that's how you can take English words and put Heisler sounds into them. And I've got some Heisler words as examples. So I started this off with a word that starts with an ejective barred lambda. So we have this symbol at the front of the word, and the word is klati. Klati. And that is the Heisler word for Ulican grease. The next word here has the ejective barred lambda in the middle of the word, and it sounds like pootless. Pootless. And this means big belly. And there are no Heisler words that end with this sound that I could find. So if there are any words that end with this, it might actually be more like this here, this tilted L. It might sound more like because a lot of our words, if we look at this paragraph here, a lot of Heisler words end with voiceless sounds. So most Heisler words end with voiceless sounds. And this is more of, this is probably what you'll see more often than not, is a word ending with this tilted L sound, this one here, the sound, instead of this ejective barred lambda. So that's pretty much how that works. There's no words that end with that sound, that barred ejective sound. So I can't really use that at the end. So I'm going to switch over to my webcam here, and I'm going to say the Heisler words, and I want you to watch what's happening with my mouth when I'm pronouncing this sound. So I'm taking the tip of my tongue, the back of the tip of my tongue, and placing it behind the bump that's behind my upper front teeth. So it looks kind of like that. And I'm really forcing that air out. So it kind of looks like this. And the air is coming out around the sides of my tongue. So the words that I have as examples are tlati, tlati, tlati. So that's how your mouth kind of looks when you're making that, when you're producing that, the sounds in that word. And the other word is pootless, 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 pootless. So hopefully that is helpful to you. There's a couple of other sounds that are in this group, but one of them is a regular L, and the other one is what we call a glottalized L. I might go into those. I'm not really sure because the L in high Sakala is exactly the same as it is in English, so there's not really much difference between those two. The glottalized L, there is a difference, so I might go over those in future videos. But I wanted to really focus on those ones, the tilde L, the lambda, the barred lambda, and the barred ejective lambda, because those are some of the more challenging sounds in the language, and if you can master those sounds, the rest of them should come along fairly easily. And they're very unique. I really had a lot of trouble trying to come up with English words that come close to those sounds. So that tells you how unique those sounds are to our language. There's not really much in the way of English equivalents in terms of the sounds of English. So again, I hope that helps people in terms of understanding the sounds, how they're made, how they should sound when you produce them accurately. So until next time, remember, learning is its own reward. Exquiguelas. Wa.